Welcome everybody to this video presentation of mine, the G7 and EU Scarlet Beast at Hiroshima. And this kind of struck me is when we talk about the beast, in the book of Revelation, it says it goes into destruction or it leads into destruction. And I thought I was just comparing this with this conference at Hiroshima and also the inclusion of the G7. So we have the G7, the European Union at Hiroshima, you see, where they had a nuclear bomb drop. And so this is something very significant. If we can see it in terms of Book of Revelation. And I just want to look at that for a minute. The Revelation 13:1 says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon its horns 10 crowns, and upon its heads the name of blasphemy. What gets me is every time we have this G7 group, we have the EU meeting there, and I don't think this is just a fluke. We're getting toward the end of the age, and so we should be seeing this beast. It should be here, and I think it is. The G7 are just the 7 heads of it. And the EU, it's going to become the 10 horns. And if you notice, the crowns were on the 10 horns. So this is where the power is going to start to show itself. And it is, i.e., at this conference, this G7 EU conference at, in Hiroshima. But another fact here is this, in the heavenlies, as we see here, this beast is also talked about, it's called Cetus, and he is kind of like destruction or death. And Jesus says, oh, death, I will be your death, And so, God's going to destroy this beast. We see it in the book of Daniel, and we see it, in the 2 Thessalonians. But first we have to understand what it is. It says, and the beast, which was and is not, is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7, and he leads to destruction. So every time you have this G7 group, you'll also have this 8th, the EU. And this is exactly what we're talking about. This beast then is the 8th. And it's the European Union, and it leads to destruction, and that's interesting because they're having this conference at Hiroshima, and what's the destruction? Armageddon, you see. And so though they talk the talk, though they plant trees and speak nice words, yet war is in their hearts, and this is what I want to show you. Here's this G7. And count them up, but also an 8th. He's an 8th. The beast is, and this is the European Union. Here's the president of the European Union, Charles Michel, an unelected guy, and he runs a government that hasn't got a country. See, they have no. They're a supranational organization, and they started just as an economic community, and now suddenly they become a government, and now they become a military force, and they have no power at all except through the G7. So, and here we have them chit-chatting with Zelensky, and what's he encouraging Zelensky to quit? To make peace with Russia? No way. Keep up the fight. We'll keep sending you weapons. We'll keep talking to these other countries. But where is it leading? Hiroshima. See? Hiroshima. Destruction. Now we see this beast again, Revelation 13:2. It says, it was like a leopard, and its feet were like that of a bear, and its mouth was like that of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and great authority. And I think this is just you, because they have no power authority from other countries. It's all their own. It's given to them. And so what's really behind them is the dragon or Satan, and it's a supranational organization that has been set up there, without any democracy, and so they just use these 7 heads and 10 horns to do what they want, just like the devil, and it's his kingdom. So here we have this G7 EU group meeting at Hiroshima, and they have to be protected by the army of Japan and from these protesters. And so here's just another example of how feeble they actually are. Without this G7, they got no power at all. They're just appointed, and this is how Satan works. He doesn't. He sets up something over top of people, and he's an oppressor, and he oppresses other groups, and he pushes his own will, and we know where his end is going to be, and it's the same as this building here, Hiroshima. No G7 imperialist summit, no nuclear war, hands off Ukraine. No war on China, but are they listening? No way. They're not going to have nuclear war, are they? Oh, well, they're just little by little. Next thing you know, they got jets coming in. So, and they're fighting with a nuclear power, Russia and China. So, you think where it's going to end? But here, every time they have this 2 sides to them. They're planting trees here. Very, environmental, very, all for human rights, all for, good of humanity, but really, in their hearts, they're preparing for war there. That's really what they are there. It's a big conference on what they're going to do with Russia and Ukraine. And you say, oh no, well then how come Zelensky arrives? And they're all patting him on the back, and so they're preparing for war. Here they are. Here we got this 7 heads and 10 horns, and this is just a group of nations. This is a beast, and but the center of it, the power of it, is in the horns. You got to realize that. That's where the crowns are. They're not on the heads. So these guys are being drawn along. But here's the leader, the president of the EU, and here's van der Leyen, the high commissioner. And so these two are just, unelected dupes. And where are they ending? Where does this beast end? It leads to destruction, it says in Revelation 17:11. And God's going to destroy it because, he's going to make war against it. Because why? Because the beast makes war with the saints, and they're given into, they makes war with Israel. They make a covenant with Israel in the middle of the week. They put a stop to it, and then they cause the fall of Israel and other nations. So God's going to deal with them. So if we join up with them, here they are. They want new sanctions on Russia, and they're sending in the F-16s from the U.S. But no peace plan. So here's the beast. I think it's this European Union. It's just the 10 kings, the 10 horns. And these 10 horns, if you study the book of Daniel, you'll see it comes out of the 4th beast, which is the Roman Empire. And so, this is the revived Roman Empire, we call it. And so it's a supra organization. It's supranational. It's over other countries, but not elected. And where did it get its power from? Well, we know from the dragon. its authority, but it really has no authority at all. And we see in Psalms it says, he hath put forth his hands against such that were at peace with him. This is talking about the beast. He hath broken his covenant. Remember, he makes a covenant with Israel for 1 week. And in Isaiah it says, your covenant with death, he's talking to his own people, your covenant with death will be annulled, and your pact with Sheol will come to an end. And so God's going to not let it go through. He's going to intervene. And here it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords, you see. War is in their hearts. It's not peace. Even though the words are very smooth. I heard Ursula von der Leyen come to the Parliament in Canada and make a big speech, very good words, and great speaker, talking about wokeism, talking about women's rights, and all the women are being subjugated in India and what they weren't going to do. And, you know, everything that Trudeau wanted to hear, and he was just lapping it up. But at the end of the show, then what did she ask for? More tanks, more weapons, more help in Ukraine for the war. See, they're worried about the European Union. They want to be protected from Russia. So they're going to get anybody, whoever they can, to fight their wars. You know, and Canada really should step right out of it. And so should Ukraine. Stop. But they're doing it. Now here's the beast. The beast is himself an ape and is one of the seven. And here it is, you know, here's the seven, you know, and it's with the seven, but it's an eighth. And that's the beast. And, you know, it goeth into destruction. Hiroshima. So, Armageddon. That's where they're heading. So, are we going to join up with them? Hope not. I'm not going to. Here they are again. Here's here's the G7 right there, and then here's van der Leyen. And Michel. They are the EU representatives. This is the EU beast. So I think it's pretty clear, and the fact they are meeting at Hiroshima, I think that's God is trying to say, hey, wake up. This is something significant. This is right out of the book of Revelation. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and hope you keep on the alert. God bless.